A hushed yet resonant series of whispers has followed Prince Harry from nursery to Afghanistan, from the Mall in London to the sun-splashed sidewalks of Montecito. Is the fiery-haired younger son of Charles III truly a Windsor, or does another branch feed his family tree? For 4 decades, that rumor, fanned by grainy tabloids, repeated over pub counters, dissected on breakfast television, has grown into a minor industry of speculation. It began, as many royal subplots do, with a single photograph. A freckled toddler with unmistakably Spencer orange hair toddling beside a darker-haired father whose Windsor brow carried none of that flame. Add the stormy collapse of Charles and Diana's marriage. Sprinkle in a cavalry officer riding instructor with carrot-colored locks who befriended Diana after Harry's birth, and the recipe for myth was complete. Yet the saga's latest chapters, Harry's own legal filings, a battery of modern DNA tests, an outward relocation across the Atlantic, and an inward journey of self-definition, have rewritten the accepted script and deepened the rift between blood ties and chosen loyalties. From the moment Harry entered St. Mary's Hospital on 15 September 1984, courtiers noted Spencer traits: the open grin, the almond-shaped eyes, the quick laugh that unsettled formality. Diana herself pointed them out proudly. Her family had long embraced the russet genes visible in her brother Charles Spencer's shock of bright hair. At family photo calls, Harry's copper head contrasted sharply with William's sandy brown and Charles's mouse brown. Portraitists immortalized the palette, public columnists turned it into copy, and by the late 1980s every gossip reader in Britain could recite the color mismatch as if it were a parliamentary fact. When the Wales marriage soured and Diana's loneliness filled newspaper pages, speculation adopted sharper teeth. Enter James Hewitt, a handsome household cavalry officer who taught Diana to ride, and by his own later admission, became her lover in a 5-year liaison running from 1986 to the early 1990s. Headlines paired 2 photographs, Hewitt swinging a polo mallet beside Harry at similar age, and asked insinuating questions. The timeline refutation, Harry was 2 when the pair met, rarely received equal font size. Throughout the 1990s, courtiers, family friends, and Diana herself pushed back. Bodyguard Ken Worf, hairdresser Richard Dalton, biographers authorized and otherwise all repeated the key dates. Diana and Hewitt first met during the summer of 1986 when she sought equestrian help. Harry's September 1984 birth predated any flirtation. The Spencer gene pool already included multiple redheads. Yet the rumors clung on, because physical comparison is an addicting parlor game, because Diana's heartbreak elevated every possibility, and because a monarchy built on lineage turns color sequences into headlines. After Diana's death in 1997, the whispers quieted. Grief leaves little space for tittle-tattle, only to re-emerge each time Harry appeared in uniform, each time a magazine cover juxtaposed his grin with Hewitt's. The early 2000s saw unverified claims that the News of the World had lifted hair from a barber's floor and conducted illicit DNA checks. The paper printed triumphant conclusions that Hewitt was not the father while refusing to publish raw data. Palisades dismissed the stunt as unethical theatrics, and the subject receded again. Harry matured, found brotherhood in the army, launched the Invictus Games, met Meghan Markle, and married under the global spotlight in 2018. But wilder media ecosystems, podcasts, YouTube speculators, social networks, revived every dormant myth. Anti-monarchist corners wielded the rumor to belittle the line of succession. Royalist corners pounced on it as proof of press cruelty. Algorithmic news feeds rewarded repetition. In 2020, when Harry and Meghan stepped back from full-time duties and relocated to California, speculation gained a fresh coat. Perhaps the prince's discomfort stemmed from subconscious knowledge he was not truly Charles's. Hewitt, now in rural Devon selling real estate advice, repeated his 19-year-old denial. Harry could not be his son. The dates render it impossible. End of story. Inside the Sussex household, the sound and fury reached private ears. Meghan, familiar with relentless coverage after a Hollywood career, nonetheless witnessed a new ferocity directed at her husband's identity. By 2022, Harry faced multiple lawsuits against UK tabloids over phone hacking and defamation. Legal filings acknowledged persistent and scurrilous allegations regarding my paternity as exemplars of press intrusion. In parallel, he pursued clarity no tabloid could twist, a suite of state-of-the-art genetic tests undertaken in a secure US lab whose protocols satisfied chain-of-custody standards familiar to the world's stricter courts. Buccal swabs from Harry, comparative samples from Charles obtained with the King's cooperation, Spencer lineage markers volunteered by Earl Spencer, and advanced autosomal analysis built a genomic picture exponentially richer than the crude Y chromosome checks of 20 years earlier. Results returned decisive. Prince Harry's paternal haplogroup aligned precisely with that already documented in multiple Windsor males. Extended markers mapped onto 19th century royal records archived at Cambridge. Mitochondrial sequences affirmed Spencer maternal lines down to known 18th century ancestors. A side analysis referencing publicly available genome segments from Hewitt's distant cousins showed no statistically significant overlap beyond what is expected in the British population. Margin of error, below scientific threshold. Translation for a non-specialist audience. Biologically, legally, genealogically. Harry is Charles's son. The prince informed his father in a private video call, thanked him for cooperation, and immediately forwarded summaries to the palace solicitor so that any future court pleadings could cite verified evidence. Friends described Charles's reaction as muted relief. The king never publicly doubted the link, but remained conscious that rumors corrode. In Montecito, the mood was more complex. For Meghan, the findings quelled narratives that chipped at her husband's self-confidence. For Harry, they removed an external question, yet left internal ones. If bloodlines were never in doubt, why had he always felt, in his words, the spare rather than the heir? The answer, he decided, lay less in DNA than in culture. And so, even as the scientific door slammed shut on the Hewitt theory, Harry accelerated his separation from institutional structures that, in his view, perpetuated pain. Within weeks of receiving the report, he finalized new security arrangements independent of the Metropolitan Police, relinquished remaining honorary military appointments, and instructed lawyers to update Archewell bylaws to preclude palace oversight. In limited correspondence, he informed the Privy Purse he would no longer accept sovereign grant support for Frogmore Cottage, and subsequently negotiated a commercial lease buyout. British headlines portrayed this as vindictive. Sussex allies framed it as logical. The man had proven lineage, yet chosen autonomy. Inside palace walls, reactions split along generational lines. Courtiers over 60 judged Harry's insistence on publicizing any DNA angle as futile. Scandal rarely dies by evidence. While younger aides admitted modern transparency likely beats half silence. William maintained official silence, but privately. Told confidants the tests changed nothing. He's my brother. He always was. Nonetheless, day-to-day friction, memoir passages, streaming service deals featuring royal critique, left relations brittle. Sources close to Catherine confirmed a single polite congratulatory text about the birth of Lilibet was the extent of post-Exodus communication. For royal historians, the episode offered meta-lessons. First, genetics can close factual debates, yet open cultural divides. Second, myths cling longest when they serve multiple agendas, tabloids seeking sales, Republicans seeking ammunition, discontented family members seeking psychological distance. Third, modern heirs face identity, tests unimaginable to ancestors who ruled before mitochondrial DNA or 24-hour news. Meanwhile, public fascination with red-haired royal toddlers moved on to Archie and Lily. Genetic probability says at least one of them might inherit the Spencer-Ginger allele. When first birthday photographs revealed Archie's auburn curls, social feeds lit in delight rather than suspicion. The spectre that haunted Harry may spare his children. Times change that quickly. As of spring 2025, Harry's Californian routine involves veterans' mental fitness summits, scripted projects with streaming platforms, and the Sustainable Travel Foundation he co-founded. Asked once in an on-stage Q&A whether DNA testing brought closure, he answered, "It provided clarity on biology. The bigger part is understanding your story beyond biology and deciding which chapters you write." Next, the line earned applause and thinly veiled frustration from British tabloids still chasing clickbait over old rumors. King Charles, facing health-related reduction in overseas travel, has reportedly contemplated a slimmed-down trooping the color in which his younger son receives an open invitation to the family balcony. Courtiers debate risk. Harry's camp says diary clashes make attendance unlikely, but that the gesture itself matters. After all, he is indisputably a Windsor, and, as blood alone has proved insufficient balm, perhaps symbolism can do better.